Notes from my September 2024 reading of a 2004 autobiography on Muhammad Ali, who was a boxer from Louisville, Kentucky, who competed internationally representing the United States of America. All right. And the copyright is 2004, and this is dated October 22, 2022. And then it brings up towards the end, like 2001 and 2002. So I think 2004. It says copyright 2004, so that's what I'm going with. And I could check the library system, the database, before I do post the video. Do that. I'm Tanis Coralee Leonhardi, she, her, hers of Seattle, and these are my book and reading notes for my September 2024 reading of an autobiography on boxer Muhammad Ali, The Soul of a Butterfly by Muhammad Ali with Hana Ali, 2004 Simon Schuster edition paperback. I'll put the ISBN in the video description. I started the book on Saturday, 7 September 2024 and finished the book today, Tuesday, 10 September 2024. It's 221 pages and took me 4 days. This is a public library copy. I picked it off the shelves in the same go as I picked the Serena Williams one off the shelves. Yes. Book notes, including construction and design. It's paperback. The formatting, like of text, is very varied throughout the book. Sometimes the text is smaller, sometimes it's bigger, sometimes there's like a quote on an entire page with, you know, a butterfly watermark in the background. It's broken into larger parts, like there's like 4 parts or something, and then yeah, there's 4 parts. Then it does not have the name of the book and the author and stuff. It has page numbers, so this is like a span of normal texts, or like, yeah, and then page numbers on the bottom. And there's some rather large page breaks, and then, or breaks in paragraph, and then some, like, sometimes there's dots between stuff. It's a varied formatting approach, is how I'll describe it. It's a soft cover, so I was like careful not to bend it too far. I liked the pages with more text, to be honest. I mean, it could be like, I can read so much so fast when it's like, you know, only half of the page is filled with text. I was like, but it was a good formatting for a full page of text. So there's that. Not much. Pictures are interspersed in black and white, like to match the text of the text. Reading notes. So some of the books I've covered have brought up the Olympic Games. This one I'll highlight the Olympic Games coverage as part of my Olympic Games coverage. Is like some of the books for people who've like established themselves as Olympians do a really poor job of describing the Olympic Games. I learned nothing new and I go, it makes me question whether you actually understand what the Olympic Games are, like in terms of like meaning, if you can't describe it in your own autobiography. He does a good job. He brings up the 1960 Olympic Games in Italy, where he won a gold medal, and he brings up the 1996 Olympic Games in Atlanta, Georgia, United States of America, where he was a torchbearer and the like last person to hold the torch. And he brings up the Special Olympic Games in Dublin, Ireland. Yes, if you did not know, Ireland has actually hosted an Olympic Games. And so he brings it up as a recurrent theme, like in terms of he doesn't highlight only one aspect of the Olympic Games. He does a good job in highlighting different aspects of the Olympic Games, which is, for the books I have read thus far, actually notable. Okay, the only catch there is the book I read, Always Running, where I did put it in my boxing playlist because he describes the boxing match he had really well. he did a better job as his profession was a writer. He did a better job describing that boxing match than Muhammad Ali does describing any of his boxing matches. So there's a little bit of like, just because somebody who is a professional athlete or an athlete or whatever writes a book doesn't mean they do it well for their own reputation, right? So that's I would say is a recurrent theme is like, yeah, it might be a good book and I might give it 5 stars. However, that does not necessarily mean it is conducive to propagating a good reputation for themselves, right? Like, especially if they're like, now that I wrote a book, I'm a professional writer. You gotta be able to describe what you do, right? Like if you're a professional gymnast and you can't even describe all of the intricacies of a single floor routine at the Olympic Games, I might be going minus 15 penalty, like on both the gymnastics and writing category, because that shows that the person has zero understanding of what the meaning of what they do. So he did a good job of making it clear that the Olympic Games mattered to him, and by incorporating it in the book, but also highlighting different aspects of the games, right? And doing that in his life, right? It wasn't just him putting it in the book, but he actually took part in the book. He's rather, this is one of those ones, like it's docked at least 1 star in my books of being, he's kind of like really anti-white people. And it's like, and then but he's also a very anti-Native American. And I'm just kind of like, when reading it, I was just kind of like, that's kind of sad, right? Like there is a little bit of, don't write a book in English or Spanish or Portuguese or Italian or German, right? What did I forget? Or French or Irish or Norwegian or Swedish or Dutch or anything like that if you don't like white people. Right? Don't take from them if you don't like them, right? It's called being a hypocrite. And then kind of like he says that all Native Americans are slaughtered at one point, have been slaughtered. I'm like, I'm living proof that's not true. And that's worse than any white person has ever done, right? At least the white people acknowledged our existence, right? Versus like with the African American community, they just deny our existence, which is really kind of intriguing in its own right. Because I'm like, well, it certainly proves witness culture is not an African thing. All right, that sounds more like it's a Native American or a white person thing. So it's just been kind of an interesting thing. Yeah, there's like, I have somewhat of mixed ancestry, right? Native American and European, and I'm proof that there's been consensual love making, and that we are capable and have loved each other on the very land of the United States of America. So it's kind of an interesting sense in that of, maybe I'm waking up a little bit to the worst in my lifetime. The people who've treated me and my peoples the worst in my lifetime are actually of African descent, right? And it's blatant, outright racism, including denying our existence. So, this book was a little bit of a wake up in that sense of, and they're pretty obvious about it and don't want to hide it. Like, well, then you probably shouldn't be competing at the Olympic Games considering they're Greek in origins. Oh, and don't speak Greek too, right? That's also a white person language. So, yeah. So there's a little bit of that. And those were some of the things that kind of marked. Was there... like on page 59 was the one where he says all white people have been slaughtered and stuff. Or not white. Native Americans. So. And your regime has been worse to us than the white people have. So, from this Native American's perspective. He does say, so one of the things is he was rich in terms of love. His family was rich in terms of love. That's on page 6. I was like, that's a good one. A lot of people these days can't identify that in their own lives where they are, like, well off. And then page 11, here's one, Emmett Till. So it was a guy of African American descent, not American, he wasn't Native American. He was just sub-Saharan African descent. Oh, and he harassed a white woman and then got killed because of it. And I'm like, yes, Though that might be racist on the part of the author and the people who propagate that, because wasn't she Native American and white? So essentially this guy was like wanted to rape her or do something to her, and she said no, right? So he harassed her and she fought back, and then the guy was killed. And so, you know, as someone who's white, a white woman, I go, and has been raped, I go, man, there used to be common courtesy. Yeah, if you love your woman, you protect your woman. Like my soulmate killed my rapist, that guy got killed. Right. So my soulmate who killed my rapist loved me. And it's good to know that she had men who love her. I mean, of course, people of African descent, again, they are oppressive regime, not just for Native Americans, but white people in this country. And that's a perfect example of that. They'd rather see Jaden Bell kill himself, which actually happened, than see Jaden Bell live. All right, they'd rather see the white woman commit suicide than have to answer for their harassment of her. Right? Because Jaden Bell killed himself because he was harassed. Right? When we know that if you harass people, it ends in suicide, blaming that white woman is synonymous with saying you want me to be dead. If you're watching this and you're fit that category, good to know you hate me. We will not be seeing each other when we die. You go to a place I don't, and in your eyes, I go to hell. So, congratulations on getting yourself to heaven without me. But anyway, in conclusion, that marked full book number 40 for me for the 2024 year. And there we go.